Today, we are cracking the code on one of the biggest challenges out there, truly understanding other people. We're going to build a practical toolkit to help you analyze, understand, and maybe, just maybe, predict what really makes people tick. I mean, you've been there, right? It can feel like every person you meet is a total enigma, a black box that you just can't see inside of. You're left guessing. What are they thinking? What do they really mean by that? But here's the big secret. Reading people isn't some kind of magic superpower that only FBI agents have. Nope, it's a skill. You can think of it like a language. And just like any other language, you can learn it. You can master it. So let's get started. What we're doing here is building your own personal people reading playbook. And this isn't going to be about vague gut feelings or simple hunches. No, this is a methodical, data-driven way to understand the complex and fascinating people you meet every single day. At its core, the mission is pretty simple. We want to become better observers. It's all about gathering high-quality information from what people say, what they do, even the stuff they own, and then analyzing it intelligently to make a pretty good guess about who they are. Okay, before we jump into the tools, we need some ground rules. First, context is everything. Someone crossing their arms might be defensive, or, they could just be cold. Second, always look for clusters of behavior, not just one single tell. Third, you've got to establish a baseline. What's this person's normal behavior? And finally, and this one's huge, you have to know yourself. Your own biases can totally cloud your judgment, so being self-aware is absolutely key. All right, with those principles in mind, our very first tool for the playbook digs deep into the why behind what people do. Because if you want to have any shot at predicting what someone's going to do next, you have to start with what drives them. So on the most basic, primal level, we are all driven by what Sigmund Freud famously called the pleasure principle. It sounds complicated, but it's actually super simple. Our brains are hardwired to chase pleasure and run away from pain. Pretty much every decision, from grabbing a snack to asking for a promotion, can be traced right back to this fundamental drive. But, and this is the critical insight, these two forces are not equal, not even close. While we're all drawn toward pleasure, the drive to avoid pain is way, way stronger. Our survival instincts make escaping a threat feel so much more urgent than getting a reward. Understanding this imbalance is a massive clue for figuring people out. Okay, so we've looked at the internal why. Now let's switch gears to the external what. Because people communicate so much without saying a single word. Our second tool is all about decoding what the body is telling us. As former FBI agent Joe Navarro puts it, the body is basically a billboard. See, our conscious, thinking brain, it's great at telling lies. But our more primitive brain, the limbic system, it just reacts honestly. And those reactions, they show up in our body language, whether we like it or not. The main idea here boils down to something really simple: expansion versus contraction. When people feel confident, powerful, or comfortable, their bodies literally expand. They take up more space. But when they feel scared, threatened, or submissive, their bodies contract. They try to make themselves smaller, almost like they're protecting themselves. All right, let's take these skills to the next level. Detecting deception. Now, this is one of the trickiest parts of reading people, mostly because almost everything we think we know about it is just plain wrong. First things first, forget all those myths from TV shows. There is no single telltale sign of lying. Fidgeting or avoiding eye contact, that can just as easily mean someone is stressed or uncomfortable. If you rely on those old tropes, you're going to get it wrong, period. So, how do we actually spot a lie? The key is to understand something called cognitive load. See, telling the truth is easy, you just remember what happened. But lying is hard work for the brain. You have to invent a story, remember all the fake details, make sure it all sounds consistent, and manage your real emotions. All that mental effort is what makes a liar vulnerable. So instead of looking for a twitchy eye, you use a conversational strategy. First, ask open-ended questions and just let them talk. The more they talk, the more chances they have to trip up. Then, hit them with the element of surprise. Ask something they haven't prepared for. And finally, you ramp up their cognitive load. Ask for tiny, insignificant details. The more they have to invent on the fly, the more likely their story is to just fall apart. Now for our final tool. We're going to go from analyzing the person themselves to analyzing their entire world. This is all about becoming an active observer, putting all the different pieces together to see the whole picture. The whole idea is to start reading people like Sherlock Holmes reads a crime scene.
Every object in their home, every choice they make, every detail in their environment, it all becomes a potential clue. It's a piece of the story of who they really are.
Psychologist Sam Gosling breaks down our possessions into 3 cool categories. First, you have identity claims. These are the deliberate statements, like a diploma hanging on the wall. Second, there are feeling regulators, things that manage our emotions, like a photo of your family on your desk. And third, there's behavioral residue, which is the unintentional trail of clues we leave behind, like a stack of unread magazines by the couch.
And of course, it's the 21st century, so this method goes online too. A person's social media profile, the way they write emails, even their profile picture. It's all part of the modern-day crime scene. In fact, studies show that people are surprisingly honest about their personalities online, which gives you a ton of data to work with. So you see, at the end of the day, understanding people isn't magic. It's a skill, and it's built on careful observation. You now have the playbook, the tools to decode motivations, read unspoken signals, and see the stories that are hidden in plain sight. So the only question left is, who are you going to try to understand first?